Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, April 26th, 2018. It's the Gold Goats and Guns half hour here on YouTube. Hope everybody's had a good couple of days. And what did I say the other day? Scott Adams is right. Kanye West just blew up the culture war. I've got an article up on my blog right now, which got posted to Zero Hedge last night, called Kanye West and the Utopia Trap. I'll talk about what that means. And so some of this stuff I've already covered the other day in my live stream from Monday when this stuff first broke, but I want to continue to build on these ideas because it's really important to kind of internalize it at a functional level, right? It's really important to internalize this, especially after having a debate with an incomprehensible communist on Monday night on Halsey's channel. It really had me thinking about a lot of these things, and I wanted to graft those. I wanted to graft what was happening in the culture war, what I was discussing with that thing that I had to argue with the other night. And if you haven't watched the debate, I'm not pimping it or anything. I don't think it was a particularly useful thing. She's just a terribly odious person that just didn't enjoy arguing with at all. And you could tell that my disdain about halfway through it just became palpable, not being interested in it. But be that as it may, let's talk about some of the issues that came up during that and in relation to the culture war and Kanye West and everything. So is anybody surprised that the left has lost its mind? Is anybody surprised that the usual suspects are out in full force calling Scott Adams a right-wing, alt-right Nazi at this point, effectively, trying to call, Kanye West somehow is a white supremacist and all of this nonsense? And it was interesting. I was just watching a short video by Dave Rubin over at the Rubin Report, which very concisely, in about 7 minutes, did a nice job of going over a lot of these issues. There's a link to it in the description to the video below. Heartily recommend watching it. Dave's a very interesting guy. And I really do fundamentally believe that what Kanye West has done is, what Kanye West has done is to truly blow the lid off of everything, because he's such a cultural icon. He's so important to what amounts to the second pillar of the tripod that was the Democratic Party coalition, right? It used to be a weak, or I don't know, I'm not even sure, weak coalition. It just was a coalition of three groups. Basically, you had the union guys, you had the minorities, and now you have the only ones left are the progressives. Well, they're the weakest ones of the bunch. I mean, they're the insane ones. And Trump destroyed, and Bernie Sanders first, and then Trump destroyed the union vote, destroyed the white middle class union guys, took them away. And and in 2016, I was very vocal. Not that anybody heard it, but it's all there in the public record. Very vocal that Trump was going to win because he spoke to those guys, and he would win those states that Clinton thought she had tied up: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. But those were all the Bernie bros. And the only worry was going to be whether or not the minorities, for example, in Pennsylvania, would come out so strongly in Philadelphia, for example, that there would be enough to overcome any groundswell in Western Pennsylvania. It turned out it wasn't. Trump took Pennsylvania, and eventually he took the election. So it's already ripe for a complete and utter collapse of the Democratic Party. And not just the Democratic Party, but the entire mafiosi enforcement of cultural thought, right? Of cultural norms. And it's like, they literally have been walking around for years, decades, with the metaphor club saying, look, if you don't act the way we want you to, if you don't virtue signal about the right things, we're just going to take away your business. We're going to take away your fame. We're going to take away your life. And it's gotten to the point where it's that bad in the hiring system in HR departments around the country. It's everywhere. It's now on social media. And honestly, when you bring people to the point of it being that pervasive, everything is cyclical. There is a snapback in the opposite direction. It always happens this way. It's never going to change. This is the way human beings are. We're willing to go along up to a point, and then at some point you just got to call bullshit on it all. And Kanye West did that in November of 2016 when he went on his 17-minute rant and then dropped the mic and walked off the stage and then went out into the desert for 40 days. And now he comes back and with the precision of a brain surgeon carves out ideological rot in the brains of millions. It's amazing. I'm jealous. I wish I was that good. I wish I had that kind of influence. Now, and again, I use the word jealous and not envious. Because jealousy is a relatively positive emotion. It's the one where you say, wow, dude, well done. And I really want to be like you. And envy is the one where I want to no longer be. I'm to the point I want to tear you down. There's a huge difference between jealousy and envy. Envy is a deadly sin. Not that but I kind of like it. And jealousy is, that thing that just spur you on to greater heights and greater performance. It's something to aspire to, right? Whereas envy is the desire to tear down what somebody else has because they're better at something. That's completely destructive. And that's what identity politics is about. That's what cultural Marxism feeds on. It feeds on envy and not jealousy. It feeds on the perceived inequality of opportunity to the point of wanting to tear it down, take it from one person and give it to somebody else. Really, it's about taking from the person they don't like and giving it to themselves, and a couple of crumbs left over for the people that they say that they're advocating for. Because let's not kid ourselves. Most of the middle-class, bicoastal, white liberals who make up this cultural Marxist movement get far more out of this system than the people that they're advocating for. Let's not kid ourselves. They're the ones with the cushy government jobs. They're the ones with the cushy government pensions that's bankrupting this country. They're the ones they're the ones truly benefiting the most from this, along with the oligarch class that prints all the money, pays for all this through debt, and gets the VIG through interest payments and transfer payments. Insane. The whole system is designed from the ground up to just roll up the wealth of the poor and then hand them back, to take a cookie away from the poor and then hand them a crumb and say, see, we're compassionate. Kanye West just blew the door off of that whole thing. He just told him, go wake up, go see what they're doing to you. His rant on stage was exactly the same thing. It really was. If you listen carefully, it's what he was saying then. So this is nothing new. This is where he's been trending. Now he's just trying to figure out, okay, is this the right time? And with his preternatural skills at understanding the cultural zeitgeist, just like Donald Trump has that same kind of preternatural skill. I wish Donald Trump's preternatural skill at the zeitgeist, the cultural zeitgeist, transferred to his understanding of geopolitics. I really do, but it doesn't. No matter how much the MAGA peeds want to tell me that he does, because he doesn't. He's going to stumble his way through foreign policy, to foreign policy victories in spite of himself, and because his opponents actually want him to succeed. That'll bring me to we'll have to talk about Emmanuel Macron and his address to Congress at a later date, because I really don't want to talk about that right now, because it's not really all that interesting. It's simply more neocon American intervention around the world. We need you to continue rebuilding Europe for us, because we're too feckless and in debt, and we don't want to do it. You need to be the colonial powers. Colonialism is good because he's a French guy. All right. Because he's a French elitist. Not a French guy. He's a French elitist. Take that back. All right. So it's really important to understand that this is a lot bigger than people are going to try and make of it over the course of the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months. The shift is already here. One of the things that I was convinced of that helped win Trump the election was the fact that he was polling better with black men than everybody was comfortable with, right? And I know that he did better with black men than anybody wanted to be comfortable with. And when they do an honest assessment of the votes, of the voting and the demographics, they're going to see that. And the other side of this is that, the taboo of voting for Trump or supporting anything that's not exactly what the Democrats tell you to support, or the left, or the progressives, or the cultural Marxists, or basically the gatekeepers of social norms, gatekeepers of their prisons. That taboo is now busted. Just in time for the midterm elections, just in time for all of the primaries. If you don't think that this was somehow coordinated or timed by Kanye West for this particular moment in time, as the Mueller investigation is falling apart, as the conspiracy to indict Trump and overthrow him is exposed, all of these, the left has never been weaker. The timing on this is so very important. There are no coincidences in politics. How many times have I said this? 100, 150, 200 times. There are no coincidences in politics. Okay? Timing is important. And with somebody like Kanye West, who is a cultural phenomenon, like him, hate him, love him, respect him, whatever, I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, the guy, you give the guy his due. He has built a multi-million-dollar empire across multiple marketplaces. Again, and he's far better at it than his detractors give him credit for. So you have to understand that he's better at assessing the culture than you are. I'll admit that. If I understood the culture as well as I thought I did, I would be far richer than I am. Good. User 13 brings up that he's dropping new music as well. Of course he's going to drop new music. He'd be stupid not to. He fired his manager who was telling him, yo, man, don't be angling up to the Trump. Like, dude, like the smartest thing the guy can do. Are you kidding? And even if he's doing it for purely cynical reasons, I don't care. He could be doing all of this. He could have done all of this for purely cynical reasons. I still don't care. Still don't care. Because I don't give a crap what his intentions are. It's only the consequences of his actions that matter. He acted. What comes after this is all that matters. And the reaction that has come has been predictable and awesome. Because it was time to red pill the MAGA peds as well. Let's not kid ourselves. They need to be red pilled on Trump's limitations. Just like the minorities need to be red pilled on just how much the Democrats hate them. So, and everybody needs to figure out who it is that they want to lead them, if anyone. So now let's shift this conversation over towards the natural rights argument and what we need to do now. Because it's not about continuing the muddled conversation about what flavor of chain, what flavor of Kool-Aid you're going to drink, or the size of the chain that's holding you back. Statism is a chain. Collectivism is a chain attached to the earth. And so now it's time for us to come out with cogent arguments as to why all of this, all of these institutions, everything about cultural Marxism is antithetical to human betterment. It's now that we have to stand up to and make our arguments better, make them more focused and sharper and more incisive. It's time to openly mock the worst of them. Openly mock, which is kind of what I was doing the other night. I was just kind of openly mocking that. But at the same time, trying to understand and be generous about what it is that she actually believes, because she feels something. I pulled the Jordan Peterson thing. I was pride because I did want to reach her at some level and say, look, I get why you want to change society these ways. I get why you're angry about everything. I'm angry about the same things you are. We're all angry about the same things. Now, the question is not specifying what the problems are, as I always say. It's about what kinds of solutions are you going to implement. There's a huge difference between specification of the problem and implementation of a solution to the problem. Most of us are bad at implementing solutions. So, and that's myself. I put myself in that category, but everybody is not, no one has all the answers. And no one should have all the answers. Because I got news for you. No one answer fits everybody's definition of good. That's why laws are so dangerous. Why the whole concept of government is a very dangerous thing. And so it's now that we fall back on first principles and we say, no, the state is what has destroyed our faith in the state of now the democratic state, as opposed to the previous one, say the divine right of kings, or the high priests of the sun god. So we've tried various forms of collectivism, various forms of tyranny, some better than others. And here's the problem with democracy, something that Hans Hermann Hoppe talked about in a book called Democracy, the God That Failed. He made the general point, for example, that because private property and the admission and respect for an individual's inherent natural rights is far superior to the collective rights of the society, even though we do have a social responsibility to each other, but it's all negotiation once we establish that our individual rights are sovereign, that our individual identities are sovereign. Once we identify that, once we make that concrete assessment, once we make that concrete assertion, and we do that by stating that we have an I, and a my, and a you, differentiate and categorize and differentiate between myself and another person. Once we do that, then we can start building all of the negotiated settlements of how we're going to interact with each other. Why individualism is superior. Because first it says, I have a node of consciousness. I have a node of perspective. That's mine. It's intrinsic. It's completely subjective. And it has to be mine. It can't be yours. And for me to be able to fulfill the needs that I feel are necessary. No, I can't do them on my own in this world. No, of course I need a community to interact with. So I'm going to have to alter and shape my behavior in order to convince you that I'm a person worthy enough to interact with and not kill you. Because everything we do is threat assessment. All of our behavior is threat assessment. And Kanye West coming out and saying, be an individual thinker. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You need to tie those things together, even if he's not capable. I don't know if he is or he isn't. He may be far more sophisticated in his understanding of these things than people are giving him credit for. So it's terribly important at this moment in time to understand that community is built on the back of the understanding that our rights are sovereign, our identities are sovereign, as we as actors have the right to lay our will upon the universe and make manifest our desires and needs. But yeah, that's going to mean that at some point I'm going to come up against somebody else, and hopefully I'm going to come up against somebody else who has different desires and needs than me, so that we can trade and utilize our comparative advantages in producing things that we're not particularly good at. I'm good at producing certain things. You're good at producing other things. I need some of what you have. You have some of what I have. We make a trade. We may have to have a medium of exchange in between in order to satisfy that trade. So that's fine. Indirect transactions is one of the 8 wonders of the world. I'm fond of saying that, the Christians like to say that, the Judeo-Christian tradition says that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. I'm fond of saying, and on the 8th day, man created money to get shit done. Because the indirect transaction, well, I have shoes and you have socks, and I need socks and you need shoes because you're a better knitter and I'm a better leather worker. But how many pairs of socks do I need versus how many shoes do you need? By creating money to be the intermediary, to make sure that the volume of transactions continues, so that everybody can, based on the time it takes to produce those things and to coordinate the production of shoes, socks, food, furniture, microphones, hats, glasses, toothpaste, shirts, coffee, gold, iPhones, all of those things are coordinated through the pricing system. They're coordinated through indirect exchange. One of the greatest things ever created. Ludwig von Mises, the great grandfather of Austrian economics, said that double entry bookkeeping is one of the great wonders of the world. I don't say if he said that directly, but that one of the greatest inventions in the world, in history. Why? Because it gave us the ability to rationally assess our profitability of our actions, and to order up our time and decide whether or not we're wasting our time. It's a brilliant insight into how human beings operate. So it's absolutely imperative that, as the cultural Marxists make even more, because they're going to strike back here by making very strong and very nuanced and very emotional appeals to the collective and to the society. That's their next move. They always do this. Okay. First, they're going to, while at the same time attacking people as, ugly ultranationalists or whatever. But they're going to strike back with even more nuanced versions of the arguments that if you watch the debate from Monday night, that woman was making at me. Which I was prepared for completely, because I have a friend who literally thinks just like she does. So I've been practicing most of that argumentation for years, and I just cut it right off at the knee. So, they're going to make appeals to emotion. They're going to make appeals to your community spirit. And what you have to remember to them is to say, just turn it right around to them. And when they try and say, "Oh, it's all just about money, man, and money's not love," I'm like, yeah, money is love. Money is time. Time is money. Money is love. However much love you need it to be. You have to make an emotional connection with somebody in order to actually transact with them, because you first have to overcome their fear of you trying to kill them and take their stuff. So there's an fundamental, overwhelming, massive emotional hurdle that has to be overcome before we can even do the most basic or simple of transactions. It's in-group, out-group bias. It's one of the hallmarks of our brain's ability to function in this world, is to do threat assessment and to engage in discriminatory behavior, to assess the priority of various threats that are around us, some of which are not, some of which are. And you can't let them make emotional appeals against capitalism. You have to, if you make economic arguments, which I tend to do, because I tend to use economic arguments for a variety of reasons. And the first and most important is that by making an economic argument, I'm attempting to be dispassionate and be able to use dispassionate language, even if I'm very passionate about what I'm talking about. Separate the emotion of what I'm saying or how I'm saying something from what I'm actually saying. Because economic language is very dispassionate, very objective, or at least it attempts to be, does its best. I think it's a very powerful metaphor for that, very powerful way to argue these points such that you don't have to, you can remove all the emotional language from that. And then you can come back and say, I understand emotionally why you feel the way you do, but look at the consequences of what you're putting in place. And actually, can you make the argument that the way you'll implement your society will produce greater coordination of effort and labor and time of the people who make up your society than by respecting individuals' rights and allow them to pursue their own interests in their own way, and then trust that they make good decisions. And it is about trust. And collectivists don't trust that individuals in the aggregate can make better decisions than a small group of individuals making decisions for the aggregate. This is what's so very important right now. There's a lot of people who are going to be red-pilled on this and going to be waking up to some of these ideas. And we have to be willing and able to make very strong arguments to bring them into the fold while acknowledging their fear about how things work and acknowledge that we have to incorporate different personality types. And if you use, say, for example, the 5 pillars of personality, right? The big 5 pillars of personality interface. It's just an interface. It's just a way of talking about it. Just a way to categorize people. Behavior, people like the person I was arguing with the other night, they're very open. I'm a very open person. I feel things very, very, very strong. She's a very open person. She's open to new experiences. She's open to new ideas, and that's great. Until she finally closes herself off to saying that's the only idea that works. You can't do that. You have to let 1,000 flowers bloom. You have to understand that you don't have one solution. That the thousands of flowers, the thousands of potential solutions to particular societal problems come from the expression of allowing people to try all different types of solutions. The ones that work, great. And they may only work for 50 or 100 people. Doesn't matter. Work for those 50 or 100 people. Respect that. Love it. Be it. Live it. It's great. Some people got their needs met. What the hell do you give a shit whether you agree with them or not? And if it means that they they upgraded their iPhone 9 to an iPhone 10, and they spent a lot of money doing it, well, what do you? What do you care? She made the argument the other night, for example, that in her world, and I pressed her to the point of saying, look, this is the problem with collectivists. You push them hard enough, eventually they'll give up their whole facade of being voluntarist. And saying, well, yeah, no, in my society, Elon Musk would not be able to be allowed, there's the key word, allowed to shoot a Tesla into space while there were people starving in Alabama. And that sounds perfectly reasonable. It sounds compassionate and all of that stuff. And I say to myself, what I didn't say the other night and what I should have said, because I've said it before, but again, heat of the moment, don't like the format, yada, yada, yada. Say, look, I hear you. That's important to you, that the people who are starving in Alabama are important to you. They're not important to Elon Musk. Got news for you. It's not. By definition, he wanted to shoot a Tesla into space and not feed starving people in Alabama. I don't know if that makes him a good person or a bad person. I don't care. What are you going to do? How many people if you feel so strongly that the people in Alabama are starving, go feed them. Be the change you want to be. Go feed them. Go do something. Go figure out how to build a sustainable system to ensure that they're fed in perpetuity. You can start by just handing them some rice. I mean, you can do that. We do this through the Sally Struthers thing. 29 cents can feed a child in Africa for a month or whatever the hell it is, right? Through UNICEF. We've done those ideas. We've also gone in there and and drilled wells for them and brought them solar power and all sorts of things. And that's fine. It's all good. Whatever. It's voluntary. I'm all for it. I love charity. I love to see people solving solutions for other people. As long as it's not, as long as there's no gun involved. I don't give a crap. Guns are for defense. Guns are not for offense. Adherent to the non-aggression principle. Do not have the right. My rights end. You're at using aggressive force to achieve my social, political, or social goals, or otherwise known as personal goals. Right. User 13 brings up that we used to have charities that did all that, and the government helped kill it. And she's absolutely right. Government welfare destroyed the massive charity network that women, primarily in this country, women took care of and administered in a loose association of societal organizations, Lions Club, the Elks Club, and all of these local organizations that would get together, churches and everything else, to ensure that the people in their community were taken care of. Taken care of. Charity. Through convincing people that it was a good thing to throw their extras, some of their extra material, be what a portion of their life, to help their community. I'm all for it. I also believe that fundamentally, that by building a profitable system, you build a moral and an ethical system. Because profit is the expression by the community that the work you're doing, they want more of. They want to help support you continue on your path. They're telling you that the work you're doing is so valuable that they want to sustain you by paying you more than your input cost, paying you more than your paying you more than you put in. That's what profit is. It's not exploitation. Absolutely. In a voluntary system, it's not exploitation. The exact opposite of exploitation. It's the expression that the value you drove by offering this good up for sale, that they paid you more than it cost you to build, is a testament to your efficacy having built that thing, and to the value that it creates for them, because they're going to take. Because look, let's not kid ourselves, okay? And no communist I've ever freaking met can actually argue with this point, because they don't know how to argue it, because they're so up their own ass about their own friggin' definitions about what's not real that they actually forget the fact that the whole world is real. Both sides in a transaction win. When two sovereign actors trade ideas, money, goods and services, both sides win. They're saying, I value the thing that you have more than the money in my pocket. I buy something from somebody, I say, I value that thing more than the $20 I spent. Okay? And conversely, when they take that $20 that I gave them and then turn around and buy it, and they're happy to sell it for $20 because it wasn't worth, the $20 was worth more to them than the object. This is the law of diminishing marginal utility. This is how things work. So, very important for us to understand that these are the moments we can capitalize the most on. Opportunity to take control of the narrative and blow even bigger holes than Kanye West just blew a hole in the wall. Now we have to flood through the wall, reach the people, and come out with our hands out and a smile on our face and go, hey man, how you been? Let's talk. Have a good time. I got beer. Beer? Let's do that. Let's chat about it. Let's break down barriers as opposed to erecting more. One of the fundamental problems I have with Donald Trump's wall. I get why. Barriers are never the answer. Barriers are a band-aid on a deeper problem. Always are, they always will be. Mr. President, tear down the welfare state wall. Don't need to build the real one. All right, it's 37 minutes. If anybody has any other comments or questions that they'd like me to answer this morning, I'll be happy to do so. I'll chat for another 30 seconds or so to see what comes through the chat line, and then I'll let you go. So you can follow my work over at goldgoatsandguns.com. This morning, the article that I referenced, Kanye West and the Utopia Trap, is currently on Zero Hedge, but it's also on my blog as well. So you can follow my work there. You can support this work by, if you liked what you heard today, please give a like, give a subscribe, and also go into your notifications and make sure that they're turned always on so that you can find out when I'm going to be live next. I can tell you already that YouTube is beginning to already underselling how many people are watching this. It makes no sense whatsoever to see the traffic going down while the time watched is going up and the number of subscribers keeps. So it's very obvious that this is part of their plan, but that's fine. So if you could do me the distinct pleasure and distinct favor of everybody who's watching to like this video so that we can get it built out as many people as possible and get the audience up to a number that is not embarrassing. Okay, so you guys have a great afternoon. I'll be on Periscope Friday night at 9 o'clock for the full Megillah, where I usually go about a half an hour, or usually go about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And have a great day. Keep your stick on the ice.